You know why you here, or do you? We know why we here, or do we? You are now listening to the On Topic Off Topic podcast with your host, Trav.
If you would like to promote your business and or project, please send us an email at masondictionent@gmail.com. You can find this episode and past episodes of the OTOT podcast on Spotify, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, and wherever you listen to podcasts. On this episode, filmmaker and Morgan State professor Dexter Nixon joins the podcast to discuss lessons he's learned as a filmmaker, appearing on the last season of Martin, the production process for sitcoms, and more.
But before we get into it, Dex, let me properly introduce you, man, because we can't just jump into this without people knowing that you are a field general, a military general in this film game. So this is the On Topic Off Topic podcast. I'm your host, Travis Case. We are sitting here with the legendary filmmaker, editor, professor at Morgan State, Dexter Nixon. Dex, man, I gotta thank you, brother, because when I first started working at Morgan about 2 years ago, and they gave me the job of studio tech, you were one of the few who, I won't say one of the few, but one of the main people who took time out of your day, man, to make sure I was good at the job. There was many times where I was in your office and I was flustered and I needed help, or I call you, you was across campus, and you'd be like, look, man, I'll get to you as soon as I can. And you was always holding it down, man. You was always there to help out, man. So I sincerely appreciate that. Yeah, so I definitely, one of the conversations, man, that we had not too long ago, and I wanted to really ask you about is what pushed you, because I know you're a Morgan grad, Morgan alumni, and what pushed you to go to LA?
Well, a couple things. One, I wanted to get out there anyway. So when I graduated college, that was on my list of, where I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. So I knew that that's where the work was. It was either New York or Los Angeles at the time were the two hot spots, and they still are, the mom and pop of film and video production. And I knew I had to be in one of those cities. I had spent a lot of time in New York in the past, so I knew New York, but I hadn't known Los Angeles well. So I visited Los Angeles a couple of times, and I made up my mind that I wanted to be in LA. I wanted to be out there. So that was a goal of mine, but I had to work my way to that. So I had to, work for a while. And so I actually started working right out of college in television production. Mm-hmm. And so I actually worked in news production. I worked at Fox 45 in Baltimore right out of college. Maybe a couple of months after college, I started working there. And so I was working, but still was, my mindset was I'm going to LA. I just got to stack some chips and I'm gonna get out there. But I didn't want to, I had some friends that are already there and they were, kind of guiding me with how to, approach it, not just run out there and not have a plan. It's a lot of people homeless out there who ran out there without a plan, and I didn't want to be one of them. So I had to put a plan in place, and when the plan started to come together was when I met my oddly enough, my neighbor, my mom's neighbor, her nephew, I believe, was working in LA.
Okay.
As a producer, or at least that's what he told me. He's working as a producer on different films. And he told me, I happened to meet him, and he was like, yeah, man, if you come out there and you're living out there, I'm sure I can get you on a show or a film. I said, bet. That made up my mind. I said, well, I've been working. I think I worked, it was like 2 years out of college. And I said, all right, I'm gonna quit my job and I'm going. And I did that. And I met him out there. I actually stayed with good friends of mine. I actually had a friend who I used to work at BET. It's so odd how things come together, but a guy who got me an internship at BET actually moved out there. And so he told me I could come stay with him while I'm, trying to find a job temporarily. And so I moved out there with him, and I ran into the guy, my neighbor's nephew. I said, "Hey man, I'm here. What's up?" And he gave me the runaround, Travis. Let me tell you something. He gave me the runaround.
Okay. I mean, like, what do you mean? Like, was he not responding to calls? What, he was bluffing you out?
Yeah, he was bluffing, period. And he did work on some films, but he wouldn't have a position that he said he had. He didn't have power like he said he had. So, and back then we didn't have cell phones. So
yeah,
it was house phone. You're not answering that. I don't know how to get. I mean, we had pagers. I could page you, and that was we'd had to wait for him to call you, and then eventually, I went on set where he was. He's working on some TV movie, and I was looking around, and I'm looking at I think they had the organization chart on the wall, and I saw that his name was under like production assistant. I said, "Man, you had me."
He was a PA,
a producer. You're nothing but a production assistant. You can't hire me. And so that was my first real taste of that LA dance that people do, especially when you're not from there, you don't work out there, and people talk the big talk to you, and you got to really do, your due diligence and find out what they're really doing, because people will talk that big talk to you, man, and make you think that they can do so much, and they really can't. And so that was a disappointment for me, because I came in thinking, man, this kid's going to give me a job. I'm going to be working as soon as I get out there. And it didn't happen like that. It didn't happen like that. So the guy I was living with, he worked on Martin. And he had done work on different shows, and he was a stage manager, which is like a floor director in news, but for a TV show. And he was like, my cousin is head of HR over at Warner Brothers. And he could get you a job, Dex. You just got to wait till television season starts. And I came out in like January, and television season ends in like March, and then it picks back up in like June. So he was like, in June, I'm sure he can get you on a show. But I had to get to June. So I'm doing extra work. I actually had a good friend who was a marketer, was in marketing. And he was marketing Michael Jordan cologne and Dennis Rodman Converse. And I ended up getting a job with that company. And we went from mall to mall marketing Michael Jordan cologne, because we had boxes and boxes of it in our house. And we had to go to different stores and Foot Lockers and hand them out, and make sure everybody had what they needed. We ended up connecting with the Hollywood crowd, and we're trying to get them to wear the Converse on TV. And it was a fun time. Right. It was crazy. I would never recommend it.
So I mean, what was that like day to day? Like shipping Michael Jordan cologne?
Oh man, it was interesting, because you had a mission. You would go out and you had to hit so many malls, right? So I know where every mall is in Los Angeles. There's like 1 million malls in Los Angeles, and we hit all of them. And we would go to all the Foot Lockers, because that's where they sold Michael Jordan cologne, at Foot Locker. And we would go and talk to them and say, hey, what are you doing? What do you need? Do you need any more product? And they would go, yeah, I need some product. All right, I have some boxes. I'm going to bring in, go to the car, get the boxes, give it to them. And that was the job. You just hit every mall and make sure they had product, and make sure that they had the product information that they needed. Sometimes they need to have stand-ups that, Michael Jordan, a stand-up of Michael Jordan. I had several of those in my car. And that was it. It was really like being a people person, which I was. So I was like, this is a cool gig. It paid, it was no money really, but it paid what I needed to pay, which was my car payment, my insurance, and break off my homie some money. Because I ended up moving in with the guy who got me the job and I left the guy who I originally was living with, and I moved with him because me and him was moving together. So it made sense. We were both working the same. He got me the job, so I was like, all right. Instead of having to travel to his house all the time, he was like, you can move in, not house, but apartment. You can move in with me, Dex, and when we can roll together. I'm like, great, we do that. He was from Baltimore.
Mm-hmm.
I knew him from Baltimore. So that's what I did until June.
Okay. So what was rent like back then in LA?
Ah, man, I think our rent at our apartment at the time was like $750.
Oh man.
Yeah, when I got my own place, my own apartment, which was in a really nice neighborhood, in North Hollywood. Nice apartment. Actually, Michael J. White lived in my apartment building.
Oh wow, that's what's up.
Yeah, he was not as big as he is now, but he had just done the Mike Tyson film. He had done Spawn. I watched him do a meeting for Spawn outside my window because we had a square. My apartment faced the pool yard, so we had a square, a pool yard. And he was out there doing a meeting with these Asian guys, and I happened to run into him one day. I said, "What movie was that?" And he says, "It's this movie called Spawn I'm about to do." And so, he used to not hang out, but I would see him at the pool and we talk. And for me, he was the dude who played Mike Tyson.
Word.
That was like the biggest thing he had done, and I recognized him from that. I don't think anybody else would have known who he was if they hadn't seen the Mike Tyson. I think it was HBO movie that he did on Mike. He played Mike Tyson in like an HBO movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so he lived there. It was I know they said one of the what's Donatello and them? What are they called?
Ninja Turtles.
One of the Ninja Turtles lived there. Of course, you didn't recognize him because he's in the mask. But the lady who rented me the apartment said that one of them lived there. So I mean, it was like struggling actors lived there.
Sure.
And the rent was like $750.
$750 in LA. You can't get a Nike wristband for $750 in LA right now.
Oh, sir.
Woo! That's crazy.
Now, granted, in LA, it doesn't. You got to rent a refrigerator. Like apartments don't come with refrigerators. At least they didn't. I don't know about now.
Mm-hmm.
But apartments didn't come with refrigerators, so you had to either buy your own or rent one. So I rented one. It was like $20 a month or something like that. And you paid like for the water was high because they had to clean the water. Like the water was dirty, and they would filter it for you, but you shouldn't drink it. It's the first time I ever drank bottled water was in 1996, 97, living in LA, because you're not supposed to drink the water out the faucet. It was full of chlorine and all types of things to fight the bacteria. So your water was always like green, blue, like a lime green color. It was real crazy, but it was, it wasn't bad for you in the sense that it wasn't unhealthy, it wasn't dirty, but it was chemicals, a lot of chemicals in it. And so we were drinking bottled water for the first time in my life. I'm like, I've never had to drink bottled water. And now I do, of course, normally. But back in the 97, no one's drinking bottled water, at least not in Baltimore. So,
yeah.
So yeah, man, I mean, rent wasn't bad. Well, to me back then, still wasn't bad back then. $750 wasn't bad.
Definitely not. I mean, look, if you get somewhere at $750, man, that's a roommate situation nowadays. You know what I'm saying? You splitting the rent with somebody for $750.
$750, man.
Wow.
Now the apartment I was in with my guy who I was working with, his was even cheaper because we were in a little seedier neighborhood. We were right off of Hollywood Boulevard. So down by Hollywood Boulevard, it's like where all the homeless people hang out and the drug addicts. And we were living down there. So it was a little rougher, but it wasn't like gang rough. It was just, derelicts walking around all the time, drug addicts and hookers and stuff like that. But I didn't feel danger in the sense of, man, a shooting could happen. I just felt like, man, it's a lot of poverty walking around.
Mm-hmm.
So
you mentioned it earlier. I wanted to ask you what was the Martin experience like? You were saying your guy, your connect was
mm-hmm.
working on Martin. So how did all that happen? What was that like?
Well, you know, at the time I was out there, my guy let me down. The original, you know, dude let me down. So my guy Rob is his name, Robert. He was like, "Well, Dex, I can get you on Martin just to get you a paycheck real quick as a extra." He said, he said extra work is a way of making some money. You just got to go and get a headshot and then register. In the they have back then they had like a registered pool, like a pool of actors. You just needed a headshot, and they would just choose you from your headshot and say, "Come on down." And they'd have like these big casting calls, and then they would choose you. It might be 100 people show up, and they choose like 10 people to be in the film.
Okay.
Well, because I was friends with the stage manager, I didn't have to go through that for Martin. I was automatically put on as one of the 10 or whatever amount of extras that they had on that show. I was already in because of his connect, because of my connect with him. And so when I went down on the set, you know, he just told me, he said, "Dex, here's the deal. When Martin show up, because it was we rehearsed for one day and then we shot a second day. Because normally the way a sitcom works, some people don't realize, is that it's a Monday through Friday thing. So on Monday, they have a script and they actually rehearse it a little bit. On Tuesday, they rehearse again. On Wednesday, they rehearse it again, because those 3 days, they're changing the script and making it right. They have different entities coming in and telling them to take stuff out. Don't say that. Don't say this. Change this. So for the first 3 days of rehearsal, the script is constantly changing. By Thursday, that is what they call a shooting script. So on Thursday, the camera guys come in and they block the show. And blocking meaning they go over how the show will be shot as you do the rehearsal. So now you got the cameraman there. Before, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, it's just the actors. On Thursday, the camera people show, and then they're setting the lighting up, they're setting the stuff. So you're actually like pre-shooting the show, even though you're not shooting anything, you're going through the motions. So the extras usually come in on that day, and then we're instructed what to do. So on Thursday, you come in, all the main actors are there, except Martin wasn't there. They had a stand-in for Martin, he was a comedian, I don't even know his name, but he did all of Martin's parts.
Okay.
And so on Thursday, we rehearsed. I got to know Tommy and Carl Payne, who was, Cole, and the two ladies, what was their names?
Tashina Arnold and
Sheena, and then what's her name? I can't think of her name. But the funny thing is, them two are the opposites. Tashina is more laid back, more professional acting, and what's her name is Hood Rat.
Okay.
Hood. You around the way, girl.
Okay.
Gina. What's her real name? I can't think of her name.
I can't remember her real name for some reason.
She's more around the way type chick than Tashina was, or acted, I should say.
Yeah.
And Tommy and I connected pretty good because we were standing next to each other the whole scene, and I had a baldy at the time, so he had a baldy, so he was like, "Yo, I like your haircut," and we started laughing about that, and so it was real fun that rehearsal day. And then I got to meet Martin's brother. Martin's brother was one of the producers of the show. And he pulled me in his office one day. I don't know why I was in his office. I was in his office, and he was talking about me being from Maryland because he saw my driver's license. And he was like, "You're from Maryland, huh?" I said, "Yeah." And he started talking. He's like, "Man, what part?" And I told him Baltimore and da-da-da. So we kind of had a long little light conversation. We talked for a minute. I found out that Nipsey was actually Martin's childhood friend.
Wow.
Yeah, he's the guy that grew up with Martin.
Okay.
He's not an actor. He's just one of Martin's boys. And that's why you ain't seen him in nothing else. So Nipsey was literally Martin's homeboy because he was there too in that room, in that office. And we were just talking like regular folk. So then the next day, Martin shows up and the vibe is way different.
Okay.
Because Martin is on, this is the last season. And if you remember that Martin didn't have like most TV sitcoms have audiences.
Mm-hmm.
His last season, he didn't have an audience.
Why was that?
The reason my boy gave me, who worked on the show, is that he was so temperamental at the time that his team didn't want an audience to see him in that way, because you have a perception of him. You don't want to see him yelling at people and cussing at people. So they felt in the best interest just to not have an audience, because he was having, blow ups on people like regularly.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It could have been drugs. It could have been pressure in his life. He had just gotten a divorce with his wife. Him and Gina were fighting. Remember that last season? If you ever watched the last season, him and Gina are never on the same scene together.
Yeah.
She had a restraining order against him. So they were beefing. There was a lot of turmoil in that last season. So it didn't have an audience. So I could feel it when he walked in. Like my boy told me, he said, Dex, when he comes on set, don't look him in the eye. Don't make him feel intimidated. Don't really talk to him unless he say something to you. He said, because I've seen him throw people off the set for less. He said, I don't want you to get thrown off the set. So just, kind of play it safe. I said, all right. So when he came on set, Tommy and Carl Payne and Tashina Arnold and Gina, well, Gina wasn't there, by the way. Gina didn't do her scene when he was there. They were all different. You could tell they were all kind of felt, not as relaxed when Martin showed up. Mm-hmm. So Martin shows up, he does his scenes. He doesn't know him that well, so the stand-in had to help him with his scenes because he didn't rehearse them. Mm-hmm. And then we did the show. Tone Loc was on that episode, so Tone Loc was there. He was the guest star, so I got to meet Tone Loc. And the funny thing is, Todd Bridges was there. Todd Bridges was just watching us.
Okay.
Which was so surreal. That's Todd Bridges. What is he doing here? It was just the oddest moment for me. I'm like, that's Todd Bridges right there, right?
Right.
And Marion Barry was there.
Wow.
True story. Marion Barry was there. He had on a Coogee sweater. Just stuff I can remember. He had a Coogee sweater on. It was the oddest thing. So Marion Barry is there, Todd Bridges is there, and they're watching our episode. We're doing our scenes or what have you. And so when we did one scene and they thought Martin should do it again, the director was a guy named Garen Keith.
Okay.
Garen Keith, I remember his name because he used to direct Good Times.
Word.
You ever watch Good Times episodes, you'll see Garen Keith. I think he did the Jeffersons too. He's like a celebrated Black director. And he comes out and he's like, hey guys, we need to do it again. And so I'm just in awe of going, oh, it's Garen Keith. I didn't know what he looked like, but I heard him call his name. I'm like, that's Garen Keith. I never knew what he looked like. I never knew he was Black. I thought he was white. I was like, wow, that's him. And then he's like, Martin, we need to do it again. Martin said, nah, man, I got a flight to catch. That's it. I ain't doing it no more. And Garen Keith said, all right, well, we're going on to the next scene. And that moment for me resonated because I was like, wow, Garen Keith just told you we need to do it again. And you just told Garen Keith, nah, I got a flight to catch. Let's go to the next scene. So at that point, I knew Martin didn't give a damn about the rest of that season. I think it sounded like he was just trying to get through it.
Yeah.
And he really didn't want it to be great. He just wanted to get through it, from what I could tell. So it was interesting.
So I mean, do you think he was just burned out at that time? Like he was just tired of the sitcom life?
I assume, yeah. I don't know for facts, but I assume that, that pressure of that show, the turmoil that was going on in his life, he had just, like I said, he was going through a divorce. He was, I guess burnt out. I don't know if drugs played a role. I mean, he claimed all he did was smoke weed. He definitely was strange. I can say that. I met him after the show, and he was very, subdued, not very hyper. And I know a lot of comedians are that way. But he was super subdued, like, hey, how you doing, man? It wasn't really excitable. It wasn't like, hey, bro, how you doing? It was just, hey, man, how are you? Almost like he was in, he was taking some type of, drug that calmed him down or something. He just was very calm, very super calm, extra calm to me. And I was like, what's going on with this guy? He wasn't what you thought he was from watching him on TV. He didn't act that way. Like in real life, he was very quiet and, and that could be just his personality. And I always say to people, we see these guys on TV and they're performing, but we don't know how they really are in person.
Yeah.
And we may not even like their personalities in real life, but their characters are hilarious. Now, I believe Martin has that part of his personality, but he didn't show it to me.
Yeah.
He just was very subdued. But when he was acting, when they said in action, he turned into Martin on the set. And I was right next to him while he was doing his scenes, and he would literally go, what's my line? They would tell him his line, and then they go action, and he'd do it. And that's how they end up shooting that scene. You've seen it, but it's a scene where he comes in the club and he has to hide from his mother-in-law, and so he did that whole scene, and then he went back to being this calm, quiet guy.
What I mean, for those who want to watch the episode, what episode were you on?
It's called "It's About to Be a Ditch," or it's something about a ditch, and it's an episode with Tone Loc, the rapper, is in it. It's in the last season. And Martin goes out to a nightclub and sees his mother-in-law. He goes out to Nipsey's, actually, and sees his mother-in-law there. And he's supposed to be in the house, or he's supposed to be doing something other than where he was. So when he sees his mother-in-law, he dips and tries to hide from her.
Okay.
And Tone Loc is I don't know why Tone Loc was in it. He was in it, though, and he was shaking hands with everybody. He shook my hand as he walked through the crowd. And because I haven't seen the episode in so long, I don't remember exactly why Tone Loc was in there, but I do remember Martin was trying to hide from his mother-in-law because he saw her at the club.
Okay.
I think it's called It's About a Ditch or something like this. Ain't that about a ditch? I think that's what it's called.
Okay. So were you ever? I know you were in Nipsey's, getting your dance on. Were you ever, in like your rare form? Like, were you ever a shooter on set for Martin? Like, were you ever behind the scenes?
No.
Okay.
Only thing I did was extra work.
Okay.
And my boy, who I lived with, Rob at the time, Robert was the stage manager for them.
Okay.
By the way, he's now like big time stage manager. He does the BET Awards, and he's done American Idol. He's done some big things since then.
That's dope. So like as a filmmaker, as a producer, as a shooter, what was the most impactful, I would say, shoot that you've ever been on?
Wow, that's twofold. The most impactful for me as a shooter, as a producer, was me doing my music video in DC. I did a music video in DC for an artist. Actually, I did two. I did one in Philly, and that was really helpful for me because the one in Philly, I actually booked myself. I had a friend of mine that knew this artist. They were this rap group, and they wanted to do a music video in Philly. I had to hire the crew. I had to hire everybody, and we had to go all to Philly because all my people I hired were from Baltimore. So we had to book hotels in Philadelphia, and we had to take our whole group to Philly to shoot this music video. And I was in like my first year out of college. So, it was a big task for me to do. I had worked on music videos as an assistant director, but that was my first time directing, the one in Philly. So that was a big deal. That impacted me a lot because it taught me a lot of things. It taught me that everything will not go the way you want them to go on set. You have to be able to quickly think of plan Bs when your plan A doesn't work. And not let the talent see you sweat. Not let them know that, on my first video shoot, the Philadelphia city was going to shut down my shoot altogether because they said I didn't have a permit, which I did, but I had to go get it and prove it to them. And that the guys defaced the property that we were shooting at, which I didn't tell them to do, and they thought I did. They spray painted their school. We were going to shoot in front of this red brick wall in front of the school. When I got there for the shoot, they had spray painted it all. It was great. It looked wonderful. But you spray painted the school, man. So you had, they put a beautiful design, the name of the group or whatever on the wall, spray painted it on the wall. And I was like, dope. That's dope. I didn't think I was going to get in trouble. And sure enough, Philadelphia sent me a very nasty letter and told me that I was going to pay for them to repaint that wall. And I had to explain to the mayor that I didn't ask him to do any of that. That wasn't a part of my contract, and I'm not paying for anything because I didn't tell him to do it. Y'all should have arrested them. When they didn't do it while I was there. So, yeah, I had a fight with Philadelphia at the end of that video shoot. And actually, a young Eve was in that video.
Wow. Okay. And what year was this?
Let's see, 95. She wasn't Eve yet. She was, matter of fact, she was calling herself Egypt in the video. She said Egypt in the part of the song. So I think that was her name before she turned into Eve.
Wow. Oh, yeah. So that's probably a few years before, because I remember like Rough Riders came on like 98, around that time, like 97, 98.
And you remember she was signed with Dr. Dre too first. So I don't know if she had been signed yet. I doubt it. But she was rapping in the video. She actually had a real small part in the video, in the song, because those kids were from, I guess, her crew in Philly. And the only reason why, because it happened quick, because I remember like a year or two later, she was on TV doing the Rough Rider stuff. And my wife told me, she's like, that's the girl that was in your video. I said, nah, it was a girl that had that color hair, but that wasn't her. And then we looked at the video again. I was like, that was her. That was Eve. But she wasn't famous yet. So it was this short blonde haired girl that was rapping in the video. And that's all. And I thought her name was Egypt because that's what she said in the video. So yeah, that was probably my first big. And then like I said, I did a second video, which was for more money. That first video was for, I want to say $20,000. I did it.
Wow.
My next video that I did was through Chris Robinson's production. Well, not even his production, but through his name. He had got a video. Chris Robinson me and him were friends at Fox 45, and I did a lot of work with him. and he was gonna pull me in when because he said, I'm going to do this music video thing, Dex. I'm quitting and I'm going to New York and I'm going to be a music video director. And he did. He became one. And when he got some steam, I was living in LA, and I showed him around LA when he came out and stuff like that. So when the work became too much, like he was getting too much work, he started passing it to different people. He said, Dex, I'm gonna pull you in. You can do this video that I'm supposed to do, but I don't want to do it. But you got to write the treatment. You got to book it. You got to get it. Mm-hmm. So I wrote the treatment, booked it, and that budget was for 95, 100. I think it ended up being $100,000 budget. That's my biggest budget I ever worked with.
Wow.
And we shot it in DC. 3-6 Mafia was a part of it. Artist was unknown, but he had 3-6 Mafia and I forget the girl's name that was rapping with him. She was with 3-6 Mafia.
LeChat, Gangsta Boo.
Gangsta Boo. So
Okay.
Gangsta Boo was on the song with him, with the guy. His name was MAG.
Okay.
He actually was under Naughty by Nature's DJ. He was producing them. He produced them, and I think it was Black Coffee. You ever remember that group, Black Coffee?
Sounds familiar. Sounds vague in my memory.
Black Coffee, and then he produced this rapper named MAG, who looked like Biggie Smalls. I knew that'd be a problem, maybe. He looking like Biggie. And so, yeah, I did that video. It got on BT and MTV.
Mm.
That was impactful for me because I was on MTV, my name on it.
Yeah, yeah.
I was on BT with my name on it. I was like, yo, I made it.
So how did that feel, man? How'd you break that to your lady, man? Because I know you and your lady. Matter of fact, let me ask you this: were you and your lady together before you went out to LA?
Yes, we had got engaged right before I went out. Yeah, we got engaged over the summer, and I left in January to Los Angeles.
That's dope, man. That's dope. And what you said, the artist's name is MAG?
MAG.
Okay.
Yeah. That was, I don't know what it meant. MAG. I don't know what that means, but he didn't last long. But he had that song with her on it. Gangsta Boo was hot at the time. And of course 3-6 Mafia was real hot. So because they were in the video and she was rapping on it, it got video play on those networks. And I will have to say, and I think personally, to toot my own horn, the topic of the video got it played because they did an MTV News segment on my video.
Oh, wow.
Or mine and Eminem's video at the time because we were mocking President Clinton in the video.
Okay.
So MAG was acting like the president of the United States, and Gangsta Boo was acting like Monica Lewinsky.
Do you possibly have the clip of MTV covering the video?
I do somewhere on VHS, and I need to change it over.
Okay.
Yeah, because back then that's what MTV sent me a VHS copy of it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to call MTV and be like, "Can I get that?"
Yeah.
Like, yeah, and they sent me a VHS copy of the news segment. So I need to find it. It's in my archive somewhere, and I need to pull it out.
I gotta see that, man. I gotta see that.
And they referenced my video, and at the time Eminem's, I think My Name Is. I think both of us make fun of Clinton in the videos.
Okay.
Said, yeah, rappers' videos are making fun of the Clinton Monica Lewinsky situation. We had the one from this artist, and then we had the one from Eminem, and actually I got a call from the director of the Eminem video, and he was like, "Yo, you the one did that?" And I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Yo, we should hook up." And I was hoping to hook up with him, but we never did.
Okay. So what was it like working with 3-6 Mafia?
Well, they were very, I don't know. They were so big at the time when they showed up. They had a bus. They showed up in a bus, and they kind of like really didn't, almost like they didn't really want to be in the video that much. They just was like, yo, we just do this one scene, and then stepping back.
Yeah.
And they wanted her to do her thing. So they were nice to me. You know, they weren't nasty to me. They just weren't. They didn't have a lot to talk about.
Sure.
They weren't really talkative. They weren't telling me what to do. They just said, "Where you want us?" All right. And then they went back on the bus.
So for you, if you doing these music videos and them being bigger productions, is music videos something that you would go back to now? Or do you feel like it's too much of a hassle, or how do you feel about music videos now?
Well, music videos as they used to be aren't anymore. So, you know, music videos were a lot more complicated too to make back then because we didn't have DSLR cameras, and you wanted to look good, you had to shoot it on film.
Mm-hmm.
So you had to have a money source. And the reason why a lot of people didn't have music videos back then is because they didn't have the money or the source of money to, like, if you were a small company or one of your homies did a song, he can't just do a music video and it compete and get on TV because you're dealing with the minimum $20,000 to $30,000 videos. And so you have to hire a film crew. You got to buy film. You got to take the film to a production company so that they can develop the film. Then you got to edit it, you know. And so the money that it took to do music videos back then made it more difficult to be able to do it. So today now everybody can do one because everybody has a DSLR and the DSLR look is acceptable. But there are no real places where you can take and put your music video and think that it's going to get the same amount of attention.
Yeah.
You know, so the music video world went from at least minimum of a $20,000 video to you can do a video for $200.
Yeah.
You know
If that.
So there's no money in it. If you're doing it, it's just for the fun and the art of it. And I would do it for that. But it's not going to help your career.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's cats out here that doing it and they don't really know what they're doing, but people will like the video. So the art of the video director, I think, is over, and as a whole.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you think it will come back around? Like I do see, like, for example, you know, back when you were on the scene, and also I feel like a lot of music videos, they had like a plot back then. It was like story, you know what I'm saying? Like what Drew Hill was doing, you know, it was just like real. It was an ensemble. It was dance. It was. Do you feel like that will ever come back around, or do you feel like it will always be, you know, just a whatever? You know what I mean? It could have basically been a lyric video that people are shooting.
Well, it depends on the audience. The audience will dictate all that, because if an audience will be okay with the video not doing all of that, then of course people are going to spend their time doing it. So I think and there are some videos that come out that are more artistic now than they are storytelling. You know, you'll have Ape Shit by Beyonce and Jay-Z, and that was more artistic video.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Childish Gambino, you know, we talk about that video, and that's an artistic video. It's not a storytelling video. It's artistic. And so you'll see more of that. But the storytelling, I don't know, because I don't know if the audience wants to see that anymore. It's up to the audience to demand that type of, you know, from their artists. Tell me a story. And I'm going to be honest, the rappers and the R&B artists weren't the first ones that were doing storytelling videos. It was the rock groups. And we were copying what the rock groups were doing. So the rock groups were creating these storytelling videos. And then we said, hey, instead of our videos, because rap videos, if you see the beginning of rap videos, they were more similar to what we're doing today, where it's just a bunch of crew outside your house or in the park, and we just rapping in front of our boys in a couple of nice cars and some pit bulls, you know. That was the rap video. And then all of a sudden you had the Hype Williams and all of them creating stories, creating visuals. Like, because Hype Williams was a he was a graphic artist, and so his thing was, I'm gonna create a visual with this music video. And so now your videos were looking stunning, like, wow, that was beautiful. And you didn't see that in rap videos before that. And we were getting those ideas were coming from what the rock groups were doing, with the Metallicas and them. They started telling stories with their love. You know, they have all rock groups had one of those love rock songs. And from that love rock song, they would do something storytelling with it. You know, I remember a video, I'm trying to remember the artist, I don't know why I can't, where the guy is running around the corner trying to catch a bus and he's on fire. That was the whole video. It was dope. It was a dope visual because it's in slow motion and the dude is literally on fire. Like literally, like it wasn't a graphic. They had like a suit on him and they set the suit on fire and he's running for the bus. And it was a rock song. And I was like, that was the dopest visual I've seen. And so when you started seeing those visuals, you was like, yo, we could do that with rap. Why can't a rap video look like that? And that's when we started to make rap and R&B songs, because R&B songs too were generic. You know, they'd be in the studio, it'd be a couple of white girls and one little light-skinned chick and the dude just singing. And then we started telling stories with it. And so we're back to square one again. Will we go back to storytelling remains to be seen. I hope so, man.
Yeah.
I hope so. But I don't know.
Yeah. So do you have anything on the docket? Is there anything that you would like to knock out, like film-wise, creative-wise, that you haven't knocked out yet?
Well, I'm trying right now. I am writing. Well, this will be my second feature film that I'm writing. Before I go back to work, I plan to write 2 features.
Okay.
And I have a great idea for a like a Netflix type film where it's episodic.
Okay.
I'm writing notes, and that's been like I've said it before, I'm like a closet writer, and I'm coming out the closet, bro.
Okay.
And this quarantine has helped me come out that closet so that I can actually, you know, think and actually put together my ideas for my scripts that I've had running around in my head. I just haven't mentally allowed myself to focus on writing them. And so now the beauty of this quarantine for me is my mind is slowed down and I can focus, and this could be my next, career. And I think that, something that I would want to do more of. And so, and of course, I'm not saying that my first 2 scripts will be anybody will care, but a story's a story, and I'm going to tell it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, if you need some voice actor, man, holla at me, man.
Of course. Well, I hope to be coming to LA to visit you.
Yes, sir.
That's the plan, right?
Yes, sir. That is the plan.
So I want to be able to come out there and call you up and say, yo, let's go to Roscoe's and let's get some chicken and waffles, man.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
I'm always gonna hit Roscoe's when I'm in LA.
Yeah, man. It was a couple of places I wanted to hit, but when I was out there, I hit Randy's.
Okay.
And I hit like a couple of nice mom and pop shops, but I didn't really do a lot of the touristy stuff food wise. And I remember I went to Inglewood and I was like, this don't look like the Inglewood that Ice Cube and all them was talking about. This don't look like this.
Now.
Yeah, it is. It looked like Baltimore County, man, with palm trees.
Inglewood ain't as hood as it. I mean, the hood is there, but they're moving them out. They put that stadium over there now, so the hood getting ready to get pushed out of there. Once the stadium started to get built over there, I knew Inglewood was done.
Yeah.
For black folks, but the Forum was over there in Inglewood. People don't realize the Forum was right in the hood.
You said the Forum?
Yeah, where the Lakers played.
Oh, word. Yeah.
That was in Inglewood. That's still there. Actually, the Forum is still there. And I heard the Clippers owner wants to buy it. or is buying it, something like that.
Okay.
So answer that later.
Okay.
Yeah, the Clippers owner is trying to buy it because but they're giving him a hard time of getting out of his contract with LA at that stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I want out. And they're like, you signed a 10-year contract. And he was like, I want out. We want our own stadium. And they said he wants the Forum.
Okay.
And he would, I don't know if he's going to knock it down and rebuild it or gut it. I don't know what he's going to do. But he's trying to buy the Forum. And so I didn't even know the Forum was still standing. I said, oh, it's still standing over there. Okay.
That's dope. That's dope. I mean, so are they using it for anything right now? Would they have to go in and make some major renovations or?
I don't know. I thought I read that they still use it for like small, like events, like, maybe graduations or something like that. But I don't know. I know Inglewood is about to be jumping because the football stadium is there now. And so, or the new football stadium there and if the Clippers can get that Inglewood area is going to be totally different. Totally different. The crazy thing is Inglewood is right next to the airport. So it's like the first place you kind of go through when you're driving. If you go through the city routes, you go right through Inglewood to get to the heart of LA.
Wow. Okay.
That donut shop everybody sees and everything, that's right out, that's Inglewood. And you go right through there and they got some great restaurants in Inglewood, man. Inglewood's not bad. I mean, it could get tough. Everywhere can get tough.
Yeah.
Where there's gangs, because they got gangs throughout LA. So you got to know the gang areas and know when to get out of town, when to go home.
Was you when you were there? Were you? I'm guessing you were super like hyper aware of like colors and what areas and because I mean you was there in the 90s.
Yeah, 96, 97.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you in Hollywood, North Hollywood, where I live, didn't really have to worry about that as much because it wasn't gangs there. But when you ventured in, like I had a friend that lived in South Central, or if you ventured to the mall, like me, I had to go to these malls, and so the malls are in different gang areas, and you just would be mindful. You watch how they move. That wearing too much red get you noticed.
Yeah.
And it's the way you wore it. Like, it's one thing if you wore a red shirt and some jeans. If you're wearing it like that, no one really is making no. But normally if you wear a red shirt with red shoelaces in your sneakers and a red hat, now they look at that as you trying to say something.
Yeah.
You're trying to make a statement. And so, but I would be super mindful if I was going into a Crip neighborhood not to wear a bunch of red.
Yeah.
I didn't want that type of drama for no reason. So you just be like, yeah, where we going? Oh, that's the Crip area. You knew you had to learn where the Crip areas were and where the blood areas were. And we found that out selling sneakers because some of the sneakers were red and white, and we would take them to the Crip area, and the Foot Lockers wouldn't take them. They were like, yeah, they never gonna sell here. We're like, really? Like, yeah, we can't. Like, I remember that Allen Iverson's was out, and they were red and white. He said we had to ask Reebok to send us the all whites.
Wow.
The red and white in this neighborhood will not sell. They won't touch them. And I was like, man, it's that serious. And so, yeah, you couldn't wear, Philly hats. That was Pyru blood. So you had to know certain things, that would make you go, whoa, okay, let me be careful with that. But other than that, I mean, I didn't think about it as that much because I didn't live in the midst of the hood. But when I was in the hood, because my friend who lived in South Central, literally, I was like, did they shoot Boys in the Hood on this street? And he was like, nah, not on this street. I was like, yo, this looks like the street. It literally looks like the street. Like, yo, this looks like the street. And he was like, nah. So there, he He was really right by the Coliseum down there by USC, right off of Hoover. And then, you know, they got the Hoover Street Crips and all that. He was right in there. And we were hanging there all the time, but it didn't feel no different. At least when I was there, you didn't see gangbangers walking around. Maybe that was it in the 80s, but in the 90s, when we came, you saw them driving around. And if you went to certain neighborhoods late at night, you're going to see it. I know I went to South Central where all the, you know, the Mexicans are, and that felt way more, you know, dangerous than being in Compton. Like I was in Compton and I at least felt like, all right, I know us. I know how we are. And I could see how we moving a little bit. And I was in South or East LA. I was like, this is a different vibe right here. I don't know this vibe at all. And it all feels dangerous. That's the hood of Los Angeles for, you know, the Mexicans, the cholos.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and they all look like they ready for war when you see them down there. They all look like they active. You know? And they have a, you know, distrust of everybody, including black folks.
Yeah.
So they don't like us either over there. So you roll over there, they looking at you like you the police. Like, what you doing over here? And if you don't get out of here, we're going to have to get you out of here. So, yeah, that felt more dangerous than any part of LA. I've been to Compton and Watts and hung out in South Central. And I didn't feel more dangerous until I went to East LA. I was like, now this feels like danger right here.
Right.
You know, at least I felt like I could blend in the black neighborhood. I was like, I ain't blending in over here at all.
Yeah, man. When I look at the documentaries, man, and then I see the interviews of people talking like on Vlad and all that other stuff, man, I'm like, yeah, I'm so glad I wasn't there in the 80s, man. I'm so glad I was not there in the 80s.
80s was something different.
Yeah.
It was, but you didn't see that much. I literally rarely ever saw any gangbangers. You saw, if you had to go to the hood, I think the most I ever saw was when I was in the Watts, and I was in Watts, and a guy pulled up in a red, I think it was a red lowrider, and he had his bandana on, and he looked like he had been drinking all day, and he dropped the car in front, next to me, you know. He pulls up, and then doop, 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 and he looks over at me, and I look at him, and then I look straight ahead. I said, I want no trouble at this dude. And then he just kind of looked straight ahead, and then when the light turned green, he popped it back up and drove off. Okay. I said, that's a gangbanger right there. It's not hiding his gangbang. Because, see, you know, you had to hide it today. You can't be just like him today because the cops will pull you over. So if you're smart, you don't roll like that because you're obvious. You're telling the police, look, I'm a gangbanger. Pull me over. I probably have weapons on me.
Yeah.
So the smart ones don't do that. He was not too smart.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't look at him, because I was like, he don't care. So I'm not even gonna I still think it's 1985. I'm not messing with him.
Yeah, that would have been a no-go for me.
I'm not looking. I looked at him just to look at him, let him know I see him, and then I said, that's it. I don't want nothing else. I don't want no trouble out of you, bro.
Yeah.
You rolling around here like the movie Colors.
Like it's Menace to Society.
Yeah. I'm like, this is he. And that's when I knew. I was like, so the smart ones don't really rep that obvious. It's little things you gotta pick up on. Shoelaces, a baseball cap, that type of stuff. That you pick up on and go, oh, okay, he gangbanging because he got the red shoelaces on. Got it. He letting me know that he a blood because he got red shoelaces.
Yeah, man.
You couldn't even wear handkerchiefs. People think, well, the handkerchief thing, that's why they wear it in their back pocket. Because you can't put it on your head. That's gangbanger paraphernalia. You're not even supposed to wear Chucks. That's considered gang paraphernalia. They don't sell Chucks in like Foot Locker.
Wow. Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
You got to buy them from like swap meets.
I didn't know that.
Because
Wow.
it's gang paraphernalia. So they refuse to sell the gang paraphernalia. They're like, we're not going to sell Chucks, Dickies. At least back then it was Dickies. Everybody wore Dickies back then. Chucks and bandanas. So they started wearing the bandana out the back pocket because if they put it on their head, they would get labeled.
Yeah. And I mean, and of course, dealing with the LAPD, I mean, LAPD really at any time in America, but I mean, especially back then, like I know they was waiting to catch somebody slipping with being obvious or trying to G-check somebody or anything. I know they was waiting to
I think you could get arrested. I think you could be arrested for wearing gang or having gang paraphernalia on. So they had like a gang task force that would just go around and regulate the gangs. And so actually I've had one stare me down, a gang task force. Walking down the street and they just pulled up next to me and they just looked at me real hard. And then they rolled off. They didn't say hi, they didn't say what's up. They just stared at me really hard. As I was walking down the street, I looked at them, they just stared at me, and then they drove by. And I said, I guess they was checking, see if I looked like I was doing something.
Now the gang task force, like, did they roll in like a paddy wagon? Like, was there something specific to identify them, or they was just regular cops, but just assigned to gangs?
Well, the ones that came up on me were in you could tell it was a police vehicle, but it didn't have a siren on it.
Okay.
So it was like a
Crown Vic, like a plain Vic or something?
Like a government car, with nothing on it. No police name on it or anything. Just like a Crown Vic type of car, but you can tell it was a government car. Mm-hmm. And they sitting in it and they're wearing regular clothes. But I believe the one guy had a vest on, so that's how I knew they were police officers. And so they're not just in police uniforms. They were he was wearing a vest. And he was two white guys, and he just stared at me. And I said, "Oh, these the police." And I think the car was black, so it looked like, okay, you police.
Yeah.
Instead of, this might be a problem. This might be gangs. No, but I always said that they were a gang. It was almost like they said, "Well, we're gonna be a gang too, and we're gonna be just like y'all, except for we got the law on our side. Mm-hmm. We're gonna roll up on y'all like y'all roll up on folk, and we're gonna do the same thing, y'all. We're gonna take your tactics and use it against you."
Yeah.
But in doing that, you're scaring folks who ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Mm-hmm. And then they had the other gangs out there, the Guatemalan gang. What are they called? The MSG or whatever.
MS-13.
MS-13, yeah. Whew. They were out there too heavy. I used to see the kids with the 13 in the back of their head, and I'm like, what does that mean? And they were like, oh, that's that Guatemalan gang, whatever they were. Mm-hmm. Of course, we have a lot of them here in Maryland now. But they were heavy in LA back in the 90s. I used to see them.
Mm. Yeah, man. I've seen documentaries on them too, man. They was definitely not to be played with. Mm-mm. It was not. They
weren't as large on the street. I heard their power came from prison. They were big in prison. Okay. Which makes them more powerful in a way, because if most of y'all are going to jail, you're gonna go see my peoples, and my peoples is gonna take care of you in prison.
Yeah, and they could fly kites too out of prison.
Right. That's what was happening. It really, I think, run from in prison, and the cats who get out kind of do the dirty work for them. Mm. But their strength and numbers were in prison.
Yeah.
So crazy.
Yeah. Well, Dex, I don't want to hold you up, man. I want to be respectful of your time. I see it's 1:09. You said you had to go roll at 1.
Yeah, I gotta go holler at a friend, man. I told him I was gonna come by. I ain't seen him in 3 months, man. I said I was gonna come and catch up. One of my homies from college and worked with me, and he been in LA too. So we really, really tight friends.
Okay.
And
Okay.
and I said I'd come visit him. I haven't. I got to put my mask on and go over there and holler at him.
Most definitely. Most definitely.
I'm glad I got to do this, man. This was cool. We got to do some more of this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, man, we gotta get back together again, man. Hopefully we can all link up after the quarantine, go get a beer or something, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm down.
Okay.
I'm down, man.
Okay.
So holler at me, brother. Keep
Yes,
in touch
sir.
with me.
Yes, sir. Will do.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Take it easy.